Good evening and welcome to the COVID-19 update on Channels Television. I'm Millicent Mwaka. First, the highlights. Ahead of Eid al-Adha celebrations, NCDC urges for caution and unnecessary travel, calls on worshippers to adhere to public health guidelines. And still ahead of Salah, residents of several states ignore COVID-19 prevention protocols. And today, Prime Minister Boris Johnson urges caution as most legal restrictions on social contact are lifted in England. Today, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control is urging everyone to take responsibility and adhere to all COVID-19 preventive measures ahead of the Eid al-Adha celebrations tomorrow and next. According to data from the NCDC, Nigeria on Sunday recorded an increase in new COVID-19 cases after 203 infections and 1 death were confirmed across the country. In the meantime, the Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19 over the weekend placed Lagos, Oyo, Rivers, Kaduna, Kano, Plateau and the FCT on red alert due to the rising number of infections. Let's take a look at the report.
Nigeria has seen a surge in the daily COVID-19 infections within the last 24 hours as the Nigeria Center for Disease Control announced 203 new infections from 5 states and the FCT. Lagos, the epicenter of the pandemic, had the highest numbers with 186 cases. 4 cases were reported from Edo, Oyo and Rivers State. 3 cases were reported from the FCT, while Kwara reported 2. 0 cases were reported from Ekiti, Imo, Kano, Ogun, Ondo, Plateau and Sokoto State, as well as data reported from Oyo State on the 16th of July. The overall count of confirmed cases in Nigeria now stands at 169,532. 27 people have been discharged in the last 24 hours, raising the total number of recoveries to 164,699. 1 person was reported to have died from COVID-19 complications, increasing the fatality toll to 2,127. Presently, there are 2,706 active cases in the country, while over 2.4 million samples have been tested so far. In Africa, there are over 6 million confirmed cases and more than 157,000 deaths on the continent. Globally, more than 190 million COVID-19 cases have been confirmed, while deaths have surpassed 4 million.
And preparatory to the Eid al-Kabir Salah festivities, it appears that buyers and sellers in Taraba State have defied the COVID-19 precautionary measures. Our correspondent on a visit to some of the markets in Jalingo, the state capital, shows that no buyer or seller was seen wearing any preventive gear, although Taraba is in one of the states on red alert by the Presidential Steering Committee. Some of the authorities concerned also declined making comments with regards to enforcement or sensitization.
Customers and traders haggling for the best deals to strike at the Kasinwa Ticket, an animal market in Jalingo, the Taraba state capital, in preparations for the forthcoming Eid al-Kabir celebrations. However, buyers and sellers alike are seen without face masks, paying no attention to any of the NCDC safety protocols. According to the chairman of the market, the members are advised to adhere to the protocols. He also blames some customers.
When we go for a meeting, we call for Congress, we invite them, we tell them, we advise them. Let everybody use face masks, but the customer, where they come here, they will not use face mask. But some of our members are using it.
At the Jalingo main market, the situation is not different. Unlike the wares on display, no single mask is in sight. Some residents claim they are unaware of the emergence of the new Delta variant in the country.
As you can see, people are not much aware of it. So if you can consider COVID-19, people have at least experienced a lot of things on that. And this sickness you are seeing, if we protect ourselves. And I can even say it's newly, the one you are talking about. Many people are not aware of it. So at least if there's something wrong concerning like this, we need government to push to support because many are not aware of it.
While there is no statement from the state law enforcement agency or state government yet, the relevant agencies must work to ensure continuous awareness, especially in view of the discovery of the COVID-19 Delta variant.
And in Bauchi State, restrictions in worship centers have been advised in respective mosques, told to observe the non-pharmaceutical measures during prayers. The executive chairman of the Bauchi State Primary Healthcare Development Agency has been speaking on some of the protocols in the mosque ahead of the day.
We also inform the emirs that they should try and see how they can minimize the overcrowding during the Salah celebration in all the 6 emirate councils. The letters was written to them on the order of our chairman of the COVID-19 committee. And then since Bauchi is not on the high risk, we will have asked that there will be no daba. But since Bauchi is not on the high risk watch, we're doing our own daba this year. We didn't stop it. But we have to be cautious. We ask people to use all non-pharmaceutical prevention, like the use of face masks, and then making sure that they wash their hands when they finish shaking hands with people, and also the use of face masks.
Meanwhile, over in Ekiti State, compliance with COVID-19 protocols was also low. Our correspondent Babajide Agbeyo brings us the latest.
There are no noticeable plans to enforce compliance with COVID-19 protocols in Ekiti State ahead of the Eid al-Kabir celebrations. A look at the central market in Nado, the Ekiti State capital, shows that the use of face mask, physical distancing, hand washing have almost been set aside. Some residents share their views on adherence to protocol and the issue of vaccination.
It is good to keep to the rules and regulations guiding COVID-19. Because it's not a sickness that if you fall on a man, you can easily tackle on your own. You need to go extra mile.
People are not following the rules and regulations of the COVID-19 because we heard that the third wave of COVID-19 is around now. So we should, but people are not even mind to wear their face mask or nose cover. But my advice to people is just to wear their nose cover so that they can protect themselves from the third wave of COVID-19, which is called Delta variant. Words from the office of the State COVID-19 Task Force reaffirmed that the relevant advisory has been given and the people need to take responsibility and ensure they make all efforts to keep safe. Babajide Agbeyo for COVID-19 update.
Well, outside Nigeria, in England, Prime Minister Boris Johnson has urged caution as most legal restrictions on social contact are lifted. There are now no limits on how many people can meet or attend events, among others, and vaccines. The vaccines minister said government experts had recommended that only some under 18s be vaccinated. We'd like to remind our viewers that there is flash photography in this next report by our London correspondent, Juliana Olayinka.
Cautious optimism is the sentiment across the country today, as the majority of all COVID restrictions have been lifted despite surging positive case numbers. The 1 metre rule alongside the stay-at-home mandate have been scrapped. The wearing of face masks is no longer a legal requirement, though still compulsory while using transport and while visiting some retail stores. And nightclubs that haven't opened their doors for well over a year welcome clubbers back to the dance floor at midnight.
So here it is, Freedom Day has indeed arrived on British shores. From today, July the 19th, there are no longer any legal restrictions on how many people can meet together. So you can meet for the first time in 18 months in groups of tens, hundreds and tens of thousands. And that's one of the problems. Britain has become some sort of outlier. No other country in the world is lifting restrictions at a time when COVID cases are surging so high. We are regularly seeing 50,000 people testing positive for COVID-19. We've reached some sort of pingdemic. Over 1.5 1.5 million people are currently isolating because they've been in contact with somebody who has tested positive for COVID-19, including Prime Minister Boris Johnson.
Like so many hundreds of thousands of other people across the country, I've been pinged, I've been asked to self-isolate by the test, trace and isolate system after I've been in contact with somebody who has COVID, in this case, of course, the Health Secretary, Sajid Javid.
Critics are wondering how the economy can recover due to pandemic chaos. With over 1 million people forced into self-isolation, there are warnings that supermarket shelves could soon be emptied as businesses across England face a shortage of workers. For now, that's the least of Prime Minister Boris Johnson's worries. Britain recorded 55,000 new cases on Sunday, the highest since January, and we have a death toll of over 128,000 people. Although 67.8% of adults have received 2 vaccine doses, medical experts have warned that Freedom Day could be a threat to the rest of the world. Juliana Olayinka, reporting for Channels TV News in London.
And indeed, she joins us next, Juliana Olayinka from London. Hi, Juliana. And it seems Freedom Day came, but with something new, pandemic. Tell us a bit more about that and, how people are reacting to it.
I'll unmute. Hopefully you can hear me now. Good evening, Millicent. We actually have a little bit of breaking news here in the UK. Prime Minister Boris Johnson, in his self-isolating room, I believe in Chequers, his country retreat, has just been participating in a news conference. And the government have actually gone back on some of the restrictions that have been lifted for nightclubs. And in my report, I did say that there's no longer any restrictions on the amount of people that can congregate. And of course, nightclubs have been at the back end of the reopening. But now, I believe in September, you won't be able to enter a nightclub if you cannot confirm that you are fully vaccinated. So that's, as you can imagine, gaining lots of traction, particularly online, because it feels anything like Freedom Day. It's been absolutely symbolic and a big embarrassment for the Prime Minister.
So definitely a lot of people will be reacting to that, seeing as he had already announced a sort of cautious Freedom Day, lifting all restrictions. So what can we say about the restrictions that exist at the moment? I mean, for people who are visiting the UK, or let's talk about Nigerians who want to visit the UK. What are the rules that apply right now?
Well, of course, I would urge anybody before they do try and fly to make sure you check with the relevant providers to be up to date with the airlines. But I believe Nigeria does still sit on the amber list. From today, if you are fully vaccinated and you are travelling into England, you no longer have to self-isolate for 10 days. But what you do need to do is make sure before you reach the border that you have a negative PCR test. And then once you're in England or anywhere else within the United Kingdom, you have to make sure you take another test on day 2. And if that's negative, you can continue about your holiday. But then, of course, if you're not fully vaccinated, there are different rules. It is very complicated. So again, I would urge everybody to check with their service provider before they do decide to book a flight to Britain.
Finally, Juliana, let's talk about, how the COVID cases appear to be doubling every week. I mean, health experts are saying that they're looking at about 3 to 1 of COVID cases in terms of the pinging that a lot of people are getting. Are there concerns that things are opening up too soon?
There are major concerns, Millicent, major concerns. As I was saying, it's been a bit of an embarrassing couple of days for Prime Minister Boris Johnson. The 3 most important political figures in Britain are all self-isolating. The Health Secretary, Sajid Javid, Boris Johnson, and of course the Chancellor, Rishi Sunak. Has become a huge problem because, of course, as people are going out and mingling, they are getting traced by people or being in contact with people who have tested positive. And over 1.5 million people are self-isolating at home, many of whom have been double jabbed. But, of course, they've got to be at work. What is going to happen with that, especially now that things are opening? A lot of journalists did ask Prime Minister Boris Johnson about his thoughts about trying to rein in the sensitivity of the NHS Test and Trace Act. We didn't get much from him, but people are very, very cautious. 55,000 cases a day. I believe you spoke to me about the football, the Euro 2020 final. Lots of positive cases. In fact, tens of thousands have been linked to that tournament. So it's not great. I think people are wary, and we just have to stay safe at the moment.
All right, thanks, Juliana Alainka, our London correspondent there with the latest. Thanks. Well, still to come on the program, we have more from the United Kingdom and the global report on the Delta variant of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Thailand has expanded COVID-19 restrictions that include stay-at-home orders and nighttime curfew to 3 more provinces as the number of daily infections soared to record high for a 3rd consecutive day. An announcement says people living in Chonburi and other provinces will not be allowed to go outside unless necessary, and this is from Tuesday, tomorrow onwards. Most of Thailand's deaths and infections have also been recorded since April due to an outbreak fueled by highly transmissible Alpha and Delta variants. Let's take a closer look at the global update.
British tourists visiting Spain have welcomed the government's decision to lift quarantine on return for fully vaccinated travellers visiting APNA-listed countries.
I think it's what people need. It can get people's mental health down, and I think it's good to get back to a bit of normality for everyone.
Thai officials are reaching out to remote communities on the outskirts of the capital to take care of COVID patients as the country struggles to tackle its worst outbreak to date. Public health officials don personal protective suits first before navigating through small canals to provide daily tests on COVID patients isolating in remote villages. South Korea's military has recorded its biggest cluster of COVID-19 infections till date, with more than 80% of Cheonghae unit members aboard a destroyer on anti-piracy patrol in the Gulf of Aden testing positive. The country's Joint Chiefs of Staff said that just 50 of the ship's complement of 301 personnel have tested negative in an outbreak first reported on the 15th of July. Authorities have begun an operation to airlift them home, while a replacement team will steer the vessel back home. Finally, thousands of pilgrims have attended Arafah's sermon as part of this year's Hajj, as the kingdom bars worshippers from abroad for a 2nd year running and restricted entry from within under special conditions to guard against the coronavirus and its new variants. Today, only 60,000 Saudi citizens and residents aged 18 to 65 who have been fully vaccinated or recovered from the virus and do not suffer from any chronic diseases were selected for the rite, a once-in-a-lifetime duty for every able-bodied Muslim who can afford it.
Well, according to the NCDC, this year's Eid al-Adha celebrations has come at a time where we all must continue to be cautious and take responsibility as we adhere to these safety measures. You can visit our website for more updates, a better understanding of the pandemic. Plus, you find other stories, breaking news, politics, business and sports. It's channelstv.com. And that's our program this evening. Thank you for watching. I'm Millicent Walker. Stay healthy.